We hear a lot of perspectives on the Mankind podcast. Inclusion of a guest is not an endorsement of their views, and the opinions expressed here do not always represent the mission or values of the Mankind Project USA.
G'day, and welcome to another live recording of the Mankind Podcast, the show where we break the molds of modern manhood to prove there is more than one way to be a man, and there is more than one way to be a father. Today we have the privilege of speaking with Dr. Meg Meeker, author of Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters, and 6 other titles, and her work reminds us that your daughter needs the best of who you are, your strength, your courage, your intelligence, and your fearlessness. In a world where girls face unprecedented pressures, emotionally, socially, even spiritually, Dr. Meeker brings timeless insight. From the moment your daughter first sees you, she gives you hero status. That just landed with me so heavily, and I felt the responsibility, but also the pressure that came with that. So we're going to talk about that. And my hope is that this conversation is going to imbue onto all of the fathers out there as you step into this role, or if you've been a father for a number of years, about understanding the importance of your presence and the purpose behind your role. You become your daughter's first anchor and protector. So let's explore how strong fatherhood shapes not just our daughters and not just ourselves, but also the future of mankind. And with all of that, Dr. Meg, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Brandon.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. I was just sharing with you on that we just got back from vacation. It was a perfect opportunity to sit on the beach and absorb the information. And man, so many big ahas. But I just want to start off with, tell us a little bit about what was your calling to write this book, and tell us about how your profession as a pediatrician led and bridged there.
Sure. Well, first of all, I never set out to write books. They sort of came out of what I was doing in my practice, my personal life, and then what I was seeing happening to the people that I was speaking to. Many years ago, my husband and I raised 3 daughters and a son, and he was a really good dad. He is a good dad. And one of the things that I saw in him is he sort of empowered our daughters, but he was gentle and loving, but he was very much a strong presence. He was very strict and so forth. And that was my father as well. What I was seeing in my practice, I interacted with a lot of kids, particularly daughters and their dads, because a lot of teen daughters are more comfortable seeing me than teen boys. So I had a lot of daughters. And I was seeing how their relationship would go aha when I would be in the office explaining how one thought and then the other thought, and they'd go, I never realized that, and they would connect. So it was really lovely what was happening in my practice. In the culture, however, I was seeing that we were dumbing down dads. You look in the media and dads are the butt of jokes. They drink too much beer. They're in the lazy boy chair. And I thought, this is not okay, because the answer to 90% of the problems that I see with kids is their dad. If I can just bring their dad in, even for 2 or 3 appointments, I'm not kidding, Brandon, and expose their daughter's heart and desires for them, they got it, and they were off and on their way. So I did that. Why doesn't somebody do something about this in my mind? Well, and then you sort of get the tap on the shoulder, and it's like, okay, go do it. So it really wasn't in response to that enormous disconnect and the dumbing downs of dads. And then you see across our country, we have pushed dads into orbit around their families. We wives, I hope they're women listening, will complain that our husbands aren't doing enough, or our ex-husbands aren't doing enough. And then dads come in and they do something, and we complain about how they do it, and they go into orbit again, particularly when it comes to raising daughters. And I thought, whoa, this isn't working. And so that's really how the book was born. I was motivated by my father and my husband and watching them raise daughters. And I knew the power and the authority a dad has that a mother doesn't in a girl's life. And there was the book.
Mm. I love it when you get that calling. Sometimes it's a tap on the shoulder and it's just green light.
It is.
Green
It
light.
is. Nobody's doing it, so you better go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, interestingly, in the time since the book's been released, it's been great to see so many different groups out there. Like we have Superhuman Fathers, we have Dads Making a Difference. We have all these different organizations that are recognizing the importance of the role of father, right? That patriarchal energy and how important it is, not just in our families, but in our culture as well.
Exactly.
You know, you talk in the beginning of the book about how in many ways when men become fathers of daughters, it's almost like the opening of their hearts in a way. It's almost like they're gaining access to emotions or emotional scope that they otherwise wouldn't have had access to. Tell us a little bit about what you've witnessed in fathers that have gone from perhaps maybe some traditional tropes of stoic, take it on the chin, keep things, you know, hidden behind the mask, to when they get their baby girls in front of them and what happens.
You know, men get married, and if they have a great wife, wonderful, but it's an adult relationship. And there's a love and an intimacy that you experience that's like none other, hopefully. But when a daughter is born, it taps into your deep wiring. And your wiring is, I want to love on a deeper level. I want to care for somebody who needs my care. Your wife likes your care, but she doesn't need you because she's an adult. This little girl needs you, not just anybody. She needs you. You want to protect her. And, you know, a lot of times what we're doing is we're blunting men's desires to protect. No, that's a terrible thing. But it comes on strong when you have this little girl. And there's a sense that I alone can show her the way. I alone can teach her to be strong, to protect her, to show her male love that her mother can't. I alone am an authority in her life, the likes of which she'll never experience in anybody else. So I think when that daughter comes, all of those deep feelings and that wiring, and it's the wiring, Brandon. It's like a spark hits the wiring, and you're connected to her in a deep way. The other great mystery, which I really try to encourage dads to understand, is the moment she's born, she knows you're not mom. You feel different from mom. You smell different from mom. She wants to attach to you in a different way. Your voice is lower. And when you hold her, she feels so secure because you're stronger than mom. A lot of women hate to hear this. I don't care. Because my job is to talk for kids. And so there's this mutual deep connection that she has not experienced. Of course, she's a newborn, but that you haven't experienced because you've never cared for someone who needs your care.
And so I've seen this in my involvement in the work and around men's groups and such, and you see the burliest of men just become the most delicate, tender, loving nurturers for their children, you know, whether it's daughter or son. I've witnessed that. Where do you believe the balance is needed or necessary? Because there is a lot of research, and we've had many of the folks responsible for that research on this show about the importance of fathers learning to actually soften their edge in ways emotionally with their children, with presence, meeting them where they are, but also increasing their emotional capacity to meet them at that level. What are your thoughts on the importance of balancing that along with still being that masculine on the tracks protector?
Yeah. You know, I work with a number of executive men who are in, you know, high pressure jobs. And part of what they need to do in high pressure jobs is be very cut and dry and very matter of fact and bossy. I mean, I'm bossy because when you're a physician, you're bossy. You're telling people what to do. But then you go home and you try to do that with your daughter. It does not work. You can't do that. Yeah. You can't say, this is what you should do. You have to eat your dinner. You have to go to bed. It doesn't work with a daughter, because when you do that, she pushes away. So you have to train yourself. One of the things that dads need to do, and you've probably learned this, Brandon, when you're done with your shows and you get in your car to go home, you need to really readjust. You have to reset.
Yeah.
You have to get into dad of a daughter mode, because you know that all of the character qualities and the habits you've built as a businessman go out the window. Now there's some overlap. And so first thing you need to do is you need to realize you need to reset, because what you're doing at work. I worked with a number of wives of the Navy SEALs. And I thought, oh gosh, this will be great. They have a hard time, so much of a hard time when their husbands go away. They said, no, we don't have a hard time when they go away. We have a hard time when they return. Home. Because they want to empty out all the cupboards and so forth. So you have to reset. When you're with your daughter, I think the best thing to do, you walk through the door, you look in her eyes, you look in her face, and you take her in. And you say, what is she doing? Why is she doing that? What does she want from me now? Very simple. What she wants from me now is something I haven't given all day. She wants me to touch her. She wants me to hug her. She wants me to tell her that I see what she's doing and it's great. You walk in the kitchen, your kindergarten daughter's sitting there coloring, and make no mistake, the moment you walk in the kitchen, she knows you're there. And within 30 seconds, she's going to determine what kind of day you had, because she needs your attention. If you are on your cell phone, you're mad at somebody at work, you walk right by her and she goes, oh, I'm not that important today. So you walk through the door and you look at her. And when you study her for 1 minute or 2 minutes and you say, I need to meet her where she is. I need to give her a hug. I need to say hello. I need to sit down next to her for 2 minutes. How are you? How was your day? Okay, we don't have time now. Let's regroup later. That changes her evening and it changes yours. So what you do is you first walk into to your home, realizing you're in a different arena now. And you can deal with that because you're so used to being so self-controlled at work. You can be self-controlled at home in a very different way. And the moment you hug her, you ask her how she is, you look at her in the face, you say, you know what, let's read a story after dinner. I'm just dying to spend some time with you. You change her mood, and then she starts to respond to you, and the two of you are off and running. That's it.
It makes me think of Dr. Daniel Amen's work. Are you familiar with his the brain scans? And he speaks about special time and about carving out 20 minutes a day for special time where your child leads and you're just there. You're there for the journey.
And your child needs it, but you need it too.
Yeah. Yeah, so true.
You know, you walk home, you get home from work, you're exhausted. You probably feel like a big part of the day you failed. Why didn't you that? And why didn't you close that deal? And why didn't you ask that question? And so you walk in feeling a little fractured. I do this when I come home from work. Why didn't I do that? But then you walk into your home and there's your little girl who thinks you're amazing. You're it. You are the love of her life. You may not be your wife's love of your life. I hope you are, but that comes and goes. But to your daughter, your little girl, this little one has been wanting to see you all day. Yeah. She has been wanting for you to touch her shoulders or pat her on the head or give her a kiss on the cheek. She has wanted that all day. And that transforms you. In that moment, you don't feel like a failure because she sees you as a success. Now, as she gets older and she starts rebuffing you and she's a teenager, different story.
Yeah. But
she still wants you. So you step into this role of being this hero that is lovely. And if you did, and you didn't give yourself the title of hero, she gave it to you.
Yeah.
So you don't have to earn it. You just have to stay there. That's it.
So this is a perfect segue because, in the book you talk a lot about the importance of daughters seeing their fathers as heroes. And so my question is, how can fathers approach this without feeling too much weight or pressure? I mean, you did say before that, you alone, you said that a couple of times, you alone as a father. And my current paradigm from what I've been learning from my dad mentors has been,
sorry, gotta turn up. Go ahead.
my current paradigm into fatherhood, again, I'm very early into it, is that, who am I alone to say that I'm the sole model of healthy masculinity and healthy modeling? Isn't it important for my daughter to have other like coaches and maybe family friends that are great role models, so it isn't so much pressure on me to be the be all and end all? Because it seems like a pretty tall pedestal to fall from.
Mm-hmm. But it really isn't. And here's why. But I'll answer those are two questions. What your daughter needs and wants for you are not the things you think you should provide. So you don't have to be this expert at anything. You don't have to earn a lot of money. You don't have to make sure she has the clothes she wants. You don't have to make sure she has a cell phone when she's 17 or 16 or whatever. You don't need to do that. To be her hero, you basically need to satisfy 3, maybe 4 needs she has. Very simple. She needs to know that you want to pay attention to her. You walk in the house and you sit with her. And when you just focus on her for 15 minutes a day, 15 minutes every other day, that keeps you her hero. Because you're the guy who shows up. You're the guy who's always there. You're the guy who's smarter. And so you don't have to literally be smart, but she believes you're smart. And that's what I try to get through to dads. You don't need to be anything more than you already are. So she needs to know that you're going to give her attention. Get off your cell phone for an hour in the evening. Who can't do that? Okay. And then she needs to know that you accept her. So you go to the game and her coach is screaming at her to save that goal or save that goal. And she missed a goal and her coach is screaming at her. She walks off the field and you put your arms around her and you know what? Let's go get some ice cream. That's a hard day, but forget what your coach says. That's it. You accept her. And then you have to show the affection, because when dad shows her affection in a daughter's heart, she is somebody. She's somebody. Her value comes from the fact that dad sees her and wants to touch her and hug her and love on her. The thing you need to realize too, you don't have to have authority. You are authority in her eyes. So those are 3 very simple things any man can do. Sometimes you have to practice, you have to work at it, because some men are very uncomfortable with touch and affection, particularly if they had a bad relationship with their mother. So take the pressure off your shoulders. The pressure on your shoulders doesn't come from your daughter. It comes from what you expect of yourself, what your friends say about you, right. What the culture says is you need to be sensitive and you need to this and you need to that. Once you grow closer to your daughter and you start meeting those 3 needs, you will become more sensitive. I want one quick anecdotal story. When I was 16, I decided I'm going to go to medical school. That's it. And that's what I focused on. All women's college. Did I study? I applied to medical schools and I wasn't accepted into any one. Now, my parents never pushed me to go. And I was at 21, life is over, no plan B. What am I going to do now? My dad was a very quiet man, and I came home after college, hadn't gotten to med school and so forth. And I walked by my dad's study and I heard him talking to somebody on the phone. This is what a hero does, okay? And I heard him talking to somebody on the phone. I heard him say my name, so I stopped and I would listen to him. This is what daughters do. They listen to what their dads have to say about them. And I heard my dad say something that changed my life. He said, yes, my daughter Meg will be going to medical school in the next 2 years. And my mouth dropped open. But you know what I knew, Brandon? I knew I was going to go. Because when my dad said something about me, it was true. It was going to happen. Now, my mother said, oh, honey, don't worry about it. You're smart. You can do this. Thanks, Mom. You have to say that because you're my mom, right? But when my dad said it, I knew that I was going to go because he valued me. He believed in me. He accepted me whether I went or whether I didn't. Boom. That's it. He's my hero. That sentence changed my life. So dads, your daughters are listening to what you say about them, how you feel about them, what you believe about them. And that's how she becomes somebody really good. She becomes a wonderful, wonderful human because she's absorbing everything you think and do around her, particularly when you talk about who she is. So it's that simple.
There's a lot there, and I appreciate you sharing that story. I could tell it, brought up emotion in you, and just there you go. There's the impact.
And, my dad said that to me. I was 21 years old, and my dad died a number of years ago, and he had Alzheimer's. And I would go in, and I don't even know if he knew me. And I would sit there, and I would read to him, because this is the man I adored, who was always behind me. He didn't say a lot. And he fought his demons. But to me, I didn't really care because I knew that he loved me. And when I went to write a book, then in my 40s and 50s, I go, I have nothing to say. I'm going to fail at this book. Nobody's going to want to read it. And I heard those words. Yeah. You are going to do this. You are going to succeed. I don't know what success looks like, but you can do this. And the great thing is, before my dad's memory began to fade, he was able to read my father-daughter book. And that to me was everything.
Thank you. Attention, acceptance, affection.
That's it.
Isn't that amazing
it is amazing
how men will look in the mirror and just write failure on their forehead because they don't provision the way they think they should. They're not, driving the car, or they don't have the house, or they're not any of these things. And a lot of that's just BS.
It is. And your daughter doesn't want it.
Doesn't care.
She doesn't care.
Unless you've imbued value to those things, right? Unless you've imbued value to status and to image.
I was working with some of the NFL guys for a while. And this was the hard thing they had getting over. They were paid millions to go out and just do this and do this and do this. And then they would come home and they didn't know how to relate to their daughter. And I said, guess what? She doesn't care what you do. She didn't even like football. You are her dad. So this is how you have to reset. And here's the thing you asked, how do men become the sensitive people they need to be? It comes when you enter that relationship with your daughter, because her love for you will do it. It'll do the trick. You don't have to work at it. As you begin to show her your love and acceptance and touch, how she responds is going to make you more sensitive. And I want to say one thing to every man listening. Don't you dare write the words failure when it comes to your kids. Don't you dare, because the most forgiving people you will ever meet in your life, the most forgiving person, it's not your wife, it's your daughter, because she needs you. Every woman takes one man to the grave. It's her dad. She wants either more time because she adores him. She wants more healing because dad is her dad. Always, always till the end. My dad is still, I have a great husband. He's not my dad. Now, not better, not worse, but it's very, very different. And so men need to understand, when you feel like a failure, get the word out of your mind. Your daughter doesn't see you as a failure. Yeah, maybe you scream too much. Yeah, maybe you're this. Yeah, maybe you don't pay enough attention. So ask for forgiveness, move on, because you're no longer a failure. My belief is this. Every father's wired with everything he needs to be a great dad to his daughter. That's it. You don't need to add to. You don't need to be successful at this. All you need to do is to be open to what she needs. And I like to see myself and people like us who come along to your wiring and we take an electric rod, we go zap, and we leave you alone. You're there.
I love that.
Because that's what your daughter believes.
So there's no pedestal to fall from.
No.
The barrier to entry for herodom is not that high.
It is.
I love
hero
that.
in your daughter's eyes is not hero like you think you need to be.
Yeah.
So get over all that stuff and focus on those 3 things and your life will transform.
A big thing
because this is the beauty of kids. You know, you could give those 3 things if you're having a difficulty with your wife, and they do help. They do work. But when you do it to your daughter, because she needs them from you, the transformation that happens in her heart is huge. And when you see that, it transforms your heart. And a lot of this is so deep, you don't even know it's happening.
We'll be right back with Dr. Meg Meeker. And as you know, this episode is all about how strong fathers raise strong daughters. And one thing I've learned is that being a strong dad starts with showing up clear-minded and present. And that is why I've made Magic Mind a part of my morning ritual. It's a mental performance shot packed with lion's mane mushroom to sharpen my focus and protect brain function, ashwagandha to lower stress, and rhodiola to sustain energy all day. There's also matcha green tea and L-theanine for calm alertness without the crash, and every single ingredient is lab tested and hand inspected for purity. When I'm calmer and I'm clearer, my daughter gets a better version of me, and that's what being a strong father is all about. So if you want to get your hands on this stuff, head to magicmind.com/mankind50 and use the code mankind50 at checkout for up to 48% off your subscription. When you support our sponsors, you support our show. And back to Dr. Meg Meeker. So we're talking a lot about the dynamic and the direct link between father and daughter, but oftentimes, not in all cases, but oftentimes there is another party in the equation here, which is the other partner. For this, in my case, my wife. And so I was driving and you shared something, and I wish I could remember exactly what it was, but I remember turning to my wife and said, we've got to stop having public disagreements and arguments with one another in front of her. Yep. I mean, she's two. She can only pull so much meaning from it, and it's probably not going to be positive. Sure, maybe there's a way to have healthy disagreements and model that in front of her when she's a bit older. But I said we need to start doing this behind closed doors. What do you say to fathers out there who feel like perhaps their status as hero for their daughter is being challenged publicly by their wives or by their partners in front of them?
Yeah. You need to be very, very clear that you don't argue in front of them. Now, some people say, oh, kids need to see arguments and resolutions. Not when they're 2, not when they're 10. And I'll tell you why. Because when you argue in front of your daughter, she hurts for you and hurts your mom. Your wife, she's trying to figure out who's right, who's wrong. But this is shaking my world because mom and dad are the ground I stand on. And when they're disagreeing, I feel very, very insecure and unsteady because I don't know what's going to come from this. In a child's mind, if you argue about what you're going to have for dinner, she's wondering if you're going to die or if you're going to get divorced. Yeah. She doesn't know what's going to happen in 3 months or 2 months. All she knows is what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes. Yeah. It rattles her to the core when you argue in front of her. So have your disagreements away from her. If you hurt each other, it's probably good for you when you've regrouped and you've all calmed down to say to your wife, you know what, honey, in front of your daughter, I made a mistake and I'm really sorry. That's it.
Repair.
Don't tell her what you made. You know what? And kids who've gone through a divorce, the kids in my experience who do the best are the kids whose parents won't tell them why they divorced.
Interesting.
Because it pits one parent against the other and she has to choose.
She has to choose.
Dad leaves because he had an affair with another woman. Guess what she's going to do? She's going to defend her mom to a hilt and be so mad at her dad, ripping mad at him. It's going to take years to get over.
Whereas
So
when
the
she's an
wife
adult,
goes, your dad is such a do. It crushes her, and it harms her relationship with her dad. So yes, you're absolutely right. Disagreements behind closed doors. Don't pull kids into an adult situation.
don't pull kids into an adult situation
or an adult argument.
Yeah.
They can't process it like they do, like we do.
Yeah.
But it's perfectly fine to say, I'm sorry in front of them, no details, to your wife, to your daughter, to your son, to your friend. I'm so sorry I yelled at you. You know, yeah, you were wrong, but I shouldn't have yelled at you.
Yeah.
Done. Period.
Done. Period. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. And you have some great anecdotes in the book that go into, when you say that, you know, the kids don't even need to know the content of the argument. Most of your anecdotes in the book follow that path, is that, you know, mum or dad made a mistake and they're just letting you know. And the kids, funny, you know, one story where the parents sit down the kids and all the kids are thinking mum and dad are getting a divorce because things clearly haven't been good between them. And so when they finally shared that, you know, daddy made a mistake and he's working on it, they're like, so wait, you're not getting a divorce? And they're like, no, we're sticking by each other. But kids' minds will go there.
Then they run out of the room and they go on and do what they're going to do.
Yeah, it made me think about my parents would have these knock them down, drag them out arguments when I was a kid, and I could hear all of it from my bedroom. And it's so true that I would hear them argue and then I would feel that ground get shaky. Interestingly, my parents had a trial separation when I was 7. I didn't even know. But interestingly, I don't remember second grade.
Wow. There's trauma.
Yeah.
There's trauma there.
The brain went into survival mode.
Yeah, you do. And in a child's world, it falls apart because not only are you frightened your parents are going to get divorced, but in their mind, they jump to death.
Yeah.
Dad has a lower voice. Dad is mad at mom. What if he kills her? I'm left living with dad. That would be horrible. Those are the jumps a kid makes. Now, an adult's going, oh no, you know, kids don't want to know what the argument's about. They just want to know if you're not going to die and if you're going to work things out with mom. That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's why divorce is so devastating to kids, because it blows up their world. Mm-hmm. I see it all the time. It just blows up their world. And look what it did to you, just the arguments. Yeah. A whole year of your life is you can't remember. Mm-hmm. That's how deep the trauma is that you don't even realize when you're a kid.
Yeah. Kids are survival experts, aren't they? Right. They will find a way to get their needs met. And unfortunately, those survival mechanisms turn into grown-up behaviors, right? That that evolve into different, in our work.
They're not ready for it.
Yeah. In our work, we call it shadow.
So your job as a great dad, okay, is to understand she's little and you're big, and you are not going to, like I said, pull her in there, but your job is to make her world okay. That's part of the safety. That's part of the protection. Okay. Yeah. There are things that are going to happen in your life, and I am the buffer between those horrible things and you. And my job is to stand between you, not to make your life perfect, not to make sure you score every goal or you get an A on every grade. Not that. I'm not talking about that. But my job is to keep you from adult worlds that are going to hurt you. And that's why I'm such a strong advocate of no phones for girls when they're young. No way. It's devastating to them. Yeah. And we have so much. Dads, in my experience, in with my patients, is dads are the ones who say no phone. I'm not going to allow anybody, any creeper, access to my 15-year-old beautiful girl. And the mom says, yeah, but you know what, her friends all have them, and she cries to me all day long, and I just don't know what to do. We have to do this. And a good guy will go, okay.
Yeah.
But a dad who really loves his daughter, nope, I'm the buffer. Not going to happen. When I was touring with Dave Ramsey, sometimes I would say things that would just make mothers chill, like this. A daughter who's 13 would come down the stairs to go to school dressed in very inappropriate clothing. shorts, pants, shorts that are too short, a midriff, this tummy, showing. And Dad would go, oh, no, no, no. And Mom would go, stop. This is the way kids dress. She needs to fit in. It's really important for her to fit in. And Dad would back off. And I say, mothers, if Dad says don't wear that to school, she doesn't wear that to school. Dad needs to weigh in on her wardrobe. And I felt someone would just walk out of me. But it's true, because dads know something about her. And guys, that Mom doesn't know. You are that buffer.
I was that age, I can tell you.
Exactly. All she wants is attention. But guys want something else. They don't care about her personality or so forth. But dads know. So that's where dads, they don't need to be more sensitive to their daughter's needs. They need to go, that's not going to happen in this house.
Yeah.
Scream and yell at me, kid, but my job is to protect you. Mm-hmm. So there's that balance between being sensitive to what she wants, but being protective of what she really needs.
Sure. So this is a perfect time to talk about, I love this distinction you make in the book, is we want to raise pioneers, not princesses. Mm-hmm. And I love that, because from the jump, people would call my daughter princess, and I would go, whoa. There is no monarchy in this household. This is a dictatorship, a healthy dictator, like a Singapore dictatorship.
Yeah.
But there's no monarchy here. So set the scene here about what happens when we end up raising daughters, what they end up expecting out of men and out of the world versus pioneers.
Well, and your daughter... Every dad feels her daughter's a princess, and on the outside, that's fine. What dads can instill and need to instill in their daughters is a strong work ethic. You are told that you don't need to this and you don't need to that. But you are the one who comes along and says, yeah, it's better for you to read books than to sit on Instagram for 2 hours a day. I expect you to be a smart girl. I expect you to know how to work hard. And even the other day, my daughter was here and we were throwing a party for my husband's birthday, and we were running around cleaning. And I looked at her daughter, who's 10, and I said, let me tell you something, Ains. There are 2 types of women in the world, those who work and those who sit. You want to be a worker. And it's true, because if you're going to succeed in anything in life, whether you're a man or whether you're a woman, you need to know how to discipline yourself and work hard. Whether it's at a relationship, whether it's at school, whether it's in sports, anything. You need to know how to dig deep. And a good father helps his daughter dig deep. Moms don't really want to do that because they want life to be nice and wonderful and have their laundry done and, have their reports written by mom, so on and so forth. That doesn't teach the kid to reach deeply. And I think that one of the big problems that we have in our culture, or your generation raising kids, it's not you, but because we want our kids' lives to be so nice, we lower our expectations of them. We don't require anything. We don't require them to work, or to say, nope, you are doing your homework even if you fail on your algebra test, because you need to learn how to work hard, or even having chores around the house.
Yeah.
Life is hard, so you need to learn to work hard. And that's a good thing. Responsibility. It gives kids a sense of value. My daughter and husband had their 8-year-old little girls make these little blankets and take them into nursing homes and give them away to people. Yeah, it made the people at the nursing home feel good, but do you know how that empowered those kids? Yeah. I can do something to give to another person that makes me know I have something to give, and I'm going to start the blanket, finish the blanket. Expect more from your daughters, not in performance, but in responsibility, in strong character, and teach her how to live it out. Teach her how to persevere.
Yeah.
My dad in that moment taught me to dig in my heels and make sure it happened. You teach a daughter to persevere, she's less likely to quit in anything. And so that's what I mean between the pioneer woman and the princess who expects everybody to do stuff for her.
Yeah.
That's a way to ruin your kids. And we're seeing that. We're seeing kids who grow up and try to find a job, and they want their first year out of college, they want $250,000, and it's 9 to 5, and they want to work from home when they want to. That's not life.
That's not life. This has been really cool. You know, when we found out we were pregnant, one of my best friends had a child 6 months before we did. Mm-hmm. And they were in the throes of it. And I said, man, what are you learning about yourself? And he goes, man, I'm learning just what I'm capable of on very, very little sleep, very little time, even pressure on resources. And interestingly, like I had a very privileged upbringing in a lot of ways. And I've had to learn grit. And you talk a lot about the importance of grit, that the fathers model that grit. Yep. And I've learned a lot of that retrospectively in a lot of ways, and I'm learning what I'm capable of. My wife and I both are getting stronger. I feel like the ability to not only hold the weight of the responsibility, but also the weight of the emotions. Like just yesterday, we had a devastating tragedy happen in the family, and I'm at work today. You know, it's
exactly.
I'm at work today, and otherwise I would have probably taken a mental health day or something like that. Which, you know, there are time and place for those, but you know, my wife checked in with me. It's regarding my family in Australia, and we're probably going to have to fly back next week. And my wife said, "How are you doing?" And I said, "You know, I feel strong." And there was no other way.
Your daughter,
yeah.
How old is she?
2.5 to 3 in November.
If she were 10, she'd never forget that.
Mm.
I mean, she's 2.5.
Yeah.
So I don't know what she'll remember.
Yeah.
That's grit.
Mm-hmm.
That's working in the face of a horrible situation.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're grieving deeply, which I'm sure you are, and I'm so sorry for that. Or you're having a horrible day, or you are so afraid. But strength faces it and marches through. And that's what your daughter can learn from you.
Yeah.
And so dads say, what do I need to do to be a hero? You're doing it in this moment today, yeah. But you didn't even think about it. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what you show. That's how you get a woman who not only survives, but she thrives. Yeah. She can fight for her family. She can fight for her marriage. And she's not a jerk. But yeah. She knows what she can do deep down. And a lot of women don't know that growing up. A lot of women, okay, I can't do it. I'm going to go do something else. I need therapy. No,
yeah.
You need to do the hard stuff even though. And that's what dads can teach their daughters. Now, mothers can have grit too, of course. But what happens is mothers tend to want to coddle. No. We want to protect your daughter from all the pain that's happening. And
not my wife.
No. You know, she's with you, and you don't bring into an adult conversation. However, you show her how to live a strong, courageous life. And when she's 10 or 8 or whatever, you tell her about today. Tell her about today.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah. You know, the cool thing about it is, this is what I'm learning about my strength as I feel like I'm getting stronger, and what I want to model for her and subsequent children, we're expecting another, is that this isn't a denial of emotion. This isn't a shoving down or repressing, a denial of sadness, of grief. And so it's being able to model to my daughter, like, yes, daddy can cry, and daddy feels sadness, and daddy feels anger, and daddy feels shame, and all these things. So it's not denying that even exists. I think that's where we get in the dangerous territory around manhood.
Absolutely. And how many men, how many fathers have to be right, and they don't want to say, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of that is pushing their emotions away, because in order to say you're sorry, you have to sort of look at yourself and like repent and go, man, I really messed it up. Yeah. That's bringing your emotions out. I think what men need to understand is real emotion needs to come out. not emotional platitudes, if you will.
Yeah,
if
performative.
You will. When you allow your daughters to see who you are without giving the gory details, right, or the painful details, but say, Dad was really sad and I just cried and cried and cried. And the reason I cried is because, my heart is very much the same as yours. And we have to be, there are times we have to be sad. There are times we have to just be sad, but we go past that sadness
through it.
If you don't allow yourself to show it, your daughter and your son feels that it's off limits. They shouldn't feel it. And so you transfer that. I think where we go wrong is we tell men, you need to talk to everybody about everything that bothers you and hurts you and you're upset about. No, you don't. There's a lot you can deal with. But when it becomes raw and real, you have to allow it out, and you should never be ashamed of allowing. My husband cries quite a bit, and the girls are used to it now, so they don't go, ooh, ah, Dad. And, but when they were little, he didn't a whole lot. But as you get older, one thing you start to realize, particularly men, I think, good men, start to realize the feelings in their heart are good. The feelings in their heart need to be shown, not to everybody. Yeah. And you don't always need counseling because you're this or this or this. You just need to let that out, and then you can resolve it. So men need to give themselves permission to feel, but they also need to give themselves permission to not have to tell everybody about it. They'll figure out the balance.
And that, shameless plug, join a men's group. Take it there.
Exactly.
Take it, all the gory details, process it there. I'm telling you, the amount of weight my wife does not have to carry because I take it to my men's group. I'll be going tomorrow night, Tuesday night, 7 to 9 every week. I can go there and I can be as messy as I need to be, and I can get it all out. So I'm not dumping it on my family. And
often with men, what I find is after a good hearty dump, they're okay.
Yeah.
A lot of times women need to work things through because we're thinking of 10 reasons in our mind at once why we're to blame for everything. So we need to figure it all out. You just need to dump.
Yeah.
And men are very pragmatic in their feelings as well. But that's hard for women to understand because they're like, no, you need to figure it out and where to come from. You know what? I really don't. I'm pretty good now. And shameless plug, my joy, and I do this. I have Zoom calls with small groups of men, 100% confidential, where I sit and I say, okay, get the failure off of your mirror. Let yourself this. No. You think you need to be a hero, but your perspective needs to be tweaked a few, because men need to give themselves permission to be men in a context where it's right and good, and to know that their wives need it. You're absolutely right. And their kids need it, because you need to be that strong person with grit. Grit does not mean not feeling.
Yeah. Grit
means feeling and marching forward anyway. That's what courage is. That's what courage is being terrified of something, but you move forward anyway. Yeah. And that's how you develop a strong daughter.
My wife and I say, now this, right? Now this.
Now this.
We got through the last thing. Now this, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And life is hard. And I think that we try to teach our kids, those who want to protect their kids, we want to teach them that life isn't that bad and it can be okay. And when they hit a brick wall, they can just turn this way. No. You will always be thrown a curveball. You will always have pain. And so when that happens, here's how you live through it. Yeah. But what we want to do in 2025, if we're enlightened and we've had enough therapy, is to try to get them around those roadblocks and avoid the roadblocks so life is good. Life is great. but there's tremendous amount of pain there. And when you teach your kid how to handle pain, what a great service you're doing your kid.
Yeah. I want my daughter to know that pain and heartache and tragedy, they're not an injustice of life. They're a feature of life. It's a feature.
They're a feature of life, and you have survived terrible pain, and you've walked through it and survived, and she can do the same thing.
Yeah. The odds are in your favor. Beautiful. Well, I want to finish on this. We got a short window here, so this is a loaded one, but it's nearly been 10 years since the release of the book. And I'm curious now, since it's been out there, what have you observed in the years since? And if at all, would there be anything that you would change in the book to address today's cultural climate for fathers and daughters?
Well, I think that the messages in the book are evergreen.
Yes.
I would change some things. I would talk about the transgender craze. I am adamantly opposed to doing surgery and giving hormones to children. Adamantly opposed, and I fight for that. And I would like that to be in the book. And I would, other than that, the message of be the man you wanted to marry is just boom. And I would never change that. The privilege for me, and I've written 7, and this is my very, very favorite book because it's very personal to me. I really wrote it from the vantage point of a daughter. Is that I've had tremendous joy in hearing from fathers who go, oh, I get it. I didn't have to change. I just had to understand her perspective. Because I said, if you can see yourself through your daughter's eyes for 10 minutes, your life will never be the same. That will never change in the book. I would never change that, because that's that pivot of 10 degrees in a dad's life where they go, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
And often dads understand their kids, their daughters, better than the mothers do, because they're open to seeing themselves in a different way and being men in the way they think. They go, oh, that was the problem. Here's the solution. I get it. I'm going to go. Mothers are years down the road trying to figure out why they created the problem. And I say that as a woman. That's been my joy. The book is in multiple languages. It touches the heart of men because a dad is a dad is a dad. It doesn't matter their religion. It doesn't matter their culture. It doesn't matter. I hear from men in the Middle East. I hear from men in South America. I hear from men in Japan. It doesn't matter. The father's heart is the father's heart. And every man has that wiring. And the great privilege for me has been able to go zap and zap and zap and then walk away. And I would never take credit for anything that happens in a man's life because of the book, because I believe it was calling. It's not something I chose. It came out of my love for being a pediatrician and watching daughters respond to their dads right in front of my eyes in my office when the doors are closed, and watching those dads go, wow, she means it. She really needs to know that I love her because I do. And she's sitting there saying, I don't. So what's happening? And then I kind of come in the middle and they're going like this. And I go, no. Let's go like that. That's it. That's all I do.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, Dr. Meg
You're
Meeker.
welcome. And so I would just encourage any dads who want a little more, who see your show, get in a men's group, like you were saying. Get in a place where you can dump and you feel safe. That's probably not a good word for it. You used it, I think. I didn't. But then also, if there are groups of men who need some coaching and some help, email me or go to my website and say that, because, like I said, at this point in my career, doing what I'm doing with you now and in trying to encourage you and men out there, that's what I want to do. So there's another resource for them.
Absolutely. I'll make sure we have links to that in the show notes. But above all else, for those of you listening, get your hands on Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. I'm telling you, whether you're way later in the game as a parent, or you're just in the beginning, early throes of myself, or you just found out your partner's pregnant, just like I did when, boom, the light switched on and I went, oh, wow, it's a different game now. Get your hands on the book. It is very digestible. I love how you've broken it up into the 10 principles, and I'm coming away a changed person because of it. So thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. And of course, the greatest thanks goes to you, the listeners who show up each and every week for this, the Mankind Podcast, the show where we break the molds of modern manhood to prove there is, in fact, more than one way to be a man and to be a father. What do you say, Meg? Have we done that today? Yes. I know so too. Lots of love, and we will see you next week. This has been another episode of the Mankind Podcast, produced in association with the Mankind Project USA. We have been your hosts, Boyson Hodgson, and myself, Brandon Clift, and we want to thank our guests for joining us today and imparting their wisdom from their experiences in this amazing journey called life. If you want to find out more about today's guests and support them in their mission, you can find links to them in the show notes. Now, if you have found gold and insights that you believe could benefit your loved ones and those you care about, be sure to share it with them. And of course, we are always grateful for a rating and review of the show on iTunes. Now, above all else, we've got to thank you, the listener, because through your attention and your support, you have made it possible for us to let men all over the world know that they are not alone and that there is more than one way to be a man. And if something in this episode has touched you, then perhaps it is the call to action to get involved in men's work. With live trainings happening constantly and in-person trainings happening all over the world, the Mankind Project definitely has something for you. Now, if you've enjoyed the music in this episode and all of our episodes, be sure to check out Jim Donovan and the Sun King Warriors. I have links to them in the show notes. And lastly, just know, what it means to me to be a man is completely different than what it means for you. That is the beauty of this journey. So if you are looking for guidance, support, and community as you begin to unpack and dive deeper into your men's work journey, then you know where to find us. Same place, same time, next week. Lots of love. We'll see you then.
Hey, it's Boyson here with the Mankind Podcast. We are closing in on 100 5-star reviews of this podcast, and we have a goal. Brandon and I want to get to 250 5-star reviews. So help us out, will you? Please go to the Mankind Podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave us a review. Thank you. Hey, it's Boyson. On the Mankind Podcast, we've brought some incredible guests on to talk about the importance of doing the work to improve our mental and emotional health. And here's the truth. Multiple times over the last 25 years, I've had the help of one-on-one work with some amazing therapists. For me, for my wife, for both of us as adoptive parents, and for our kids. The Mankind Project and Men's Group, though awesome, are not a substitute for professional mental health support. And so I'm thrilled that the Mankind Podcast now has BetterHelp as a sponsor for the show. BetterHelp works online. It asks you what you're working on and then matches you for live one-on-one sessions with a licensed therapist, someone trained to work with you, listen, and offer helpful insights. I'm using BetterHelp. It's super easy, and I like what I'm getting. If getting one-on-one support in the comfort of your own space feels like a good direction for you, I invite you to check it out. Go to the link in the show notes or betterhelp.com/mankind. And if you sign up, you'll get 10% off your first month of therapy.